Hi, kitty cats. Well, the topic today is gender-affirming care and my long-term mental health. Because you see, when I traveled to Thailand for gender-affirming surgery, I never expected the best part of returning to the United States would be taking a cold shower. But the cold has reminded me that the most important lesson of being human is that no matter how far I go into the process of gender transition, gender-affirming care cannot and will not solve all of my life's problems. So, before I get going here, let me go ahead and do a couple of plugs. I am Amethysta. I'm an author and a podcaster. You can check the links below for more information about me and the work that I do. The first link there is my personal website, amethysta.io. You will find all the social media networks that I'm on, and you can follow me there for all the updates on everything I do. The second link down is genderidentitytoday.com. That's my professional website. All of my articles and all of my podcasts are published there, as well as work from other contributors. So if you like this content, actually, please consider subscribing at genderidentitytoday.com. You can get a subscription for as low as $2 a month. And if you'd like to contribute content to Gender Identity Today, please contact me through my personal website contact page, because I'd love to publish whatever content you have. That last link there is a Ko-fi page. If you would like to leave a tip, you can do that through that last link. All right, so I want to start off this topic by considering regret after gender-affirming care. I received a comment on a video, this was on YouTube, and that video talked about how well I have healed in 6 weeks. And the comment said, "Oh my gosh, you're becoming contemplative. Could this be a form of regret?" Now, I'm going to admit, hi Lana, I'm going to admit I don't know the motives behind the comments. I've gotten many comments where people have said, "I'm waiting for the inevitable regret videos and then detransition videos." And I gotta say, I'm kind of surprised at the gleeful tone that some people will take in discussing a person's failure and unhappiness for the rest of their lives. It's a little creepy. But it strikes me that there is a tremendous dearth of evidence that gender-affirming care is not effective. In fact, I did a live stream 2 weeks ago on YouTube where I gave some statistics. And that's why these comments exist, because they need me, or rather they need my failure. Hi, Sirsha. They need my failure to prove them right. Because without my pain, they can't tell me, "Well, I told you so." And they can't justify the hate, the discrimination, the legislation. And so this brings me back to a cold shower, right? Because like a cold shower, gender-affirming surgery has brought me great physical and psychological benefits. But also, like a cold shower, gender-affirming surgery has brought on additional stress. So let me talk about stress. I remember in the 1980s, sorry about that, folks. I remember back in the 1980s when this idea of stress started becoming very popular. Because social scientists could look around and say, we have every modern convenience in life. We have more leisure time than at any other period in human history. We are hunter-gatherers who have now become sedentary. We should be completely relaxed, devoted to grand pursuits. Isn't this what the science fiction books? All of our science fiction books promise us this. We're going to be feeling great. But they observed that people, at least in Western society, felt terrible. There were people with ulcers. Anxiety was becoming a standard thing. Burnout became a huge problem. And so pharmaceutical companies snapped into action, right? And we talked about addressing this condition that we called stress. Now, there was some parallel research going on in exercise science. It's kind of interesting because we discovered there was a need to stress the body in order to improve performance. Maybe some of you remember the no pain, no gain mantra of exercise guys in the gyms. We also found, counterintuitively, that regular exercise could combat stress. Kind of odd. But what that implied, what that ended up teaching us is that there are actually three different modes of stress. The mode of stress that we talked about the most is called distress. This is typical. This is what we usually mean when we say, wow, I feel really stressed. We get distress when we experience events that we consider subjectively bad. I'm going to put that in quotation marks because what subjective means is that you determine whether it's bad or not. This is a long-term chronic stress that wears us down. In exercise science, what they found was something called hormetic stress. This is a more recent concept in exercise and also now particularly in psychology. This is a short-term acute stress. And it may start off when we first doing hormetic stress, it may start off feeling subjectively negative, but sooner or later turns into something that feels positive. It is enough stress to tax both the body and the mind, but not enough to contribute to the long-term chronic stress that we felt with distress. And interestingly, would battle the long-term chronic distress that we felt. Now, the reason I brought up cold showers is because one of the things that's been studied more recently has been how a cold shower can induce hormetic stress very simply and easily. Cold showers. Okay, it may be that all of you out there are going, there's no chance. Why the hell would you take a cold shower? I'll tell you, at the beginning of 2024, I was feeling horrible. I was burned out. I was unsure what to do with my life. And I was just looking for some way, any way, that I was going to feel better. For what it's worth, cold showers were not the first thought I had on feeling better. Because it was January, and I'm in Colorado. There was probably snow on the ground that I started thinking about this. But I'd always been fascinated by it. I'd heard, oh, you take a cold shower, it solves so many things. So I read a book, and I thought, what the hell, I'll try it. And the first couple of weeks, probably the first 30 days, were not very fun. I dreaded getting up. I dreaded turning on the water, but it was interesting. At some point, I realized by the time I got under the water, once I'd immersed myself actually in this cold water, taking that first sharp breath, but right after that, I would begin to laugh. I would think to myself, look at what I can do. I can take a cold shower in January. There's snow on the ground, and I'm taking a cold shower. It gave me this sense of empowerment. And it was crazy, but that sense of empowerment helped me move through some really bad times. By the time I got to February, first of all, interestingly, I had started losing some weight, but I started feeling better. And so when I was in Thailand, I went there thinking, I'll be able to take my cold showers all I want. But I couldn't. For whatever reason, I could not turn the water temperature down enough in the hotel to take a really good cold shower. See, now open water swimming in the Pacific Ocean, like in January, yeah, it's something I know I need to do. We actually have a lake close to me. Just a quick aside. There's a lake close to me where people do that, the Polar Bear Club thing. And I'm probably going to end up trying that this winter because that's the kind of person I am. So in Thailand, couldn't turn the temperature down. And it's crazy. I thought it was almost a luxury to return to the United States and take a cold shower again. Now, it's taken me about a week because I've been back in the U.S. now for about 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks. And it took about a week for me to get back to that sense of laughing, the sense of empowerment. But this past Monday, I had this flash of insight about my life. And it goes back to the idea of the three modes of stress. And you may remember I only discussed two of them. There's one left, and that's called eustress. And eustress is very interesting. A shower is definitely less sharks. It's a great point. But same so in a lake. So take that for what it's worth. Hi, Rosebud's wife. I see you too. Eustress. Eustress is the opposite of distress. Eustress occurs when we experience events that we subjectively judge as good to our life. but it causes stress, which is unexpected because we think we have good things in our life, right? It's going to make it better. Hi, Erica. But think about something like winning the lottery. If you win the lottery and you've had a decade of unemployment, struggling for health care, trying to keep food on the table, you win the lottery and you go, hey, fabulous. Now I know the basic needs are going to be cared for. Hi, Beck. But in this case, what happens is the struggle shifts. Now you got to worry about paying taxes. Now you have to worry about, the inevitable family and friends who are going to suddenly come out of the woodwork and go, hey, remember me? I was always your favorite, aunt or uncle, whatever. You might have to find a lawyer to handle, well, the taxes and the people coming out of the woodwork. And in the background, the money's not being replenished. You're not necessarily working, although maybe this helps you get there. But the money isn't necessarily being replenished. And at some point, if it runs out, you're back in the same spot. So out of context, what you get is a moment in which all of your woes appear to be solved. They appear to be. But the lesson that eustress teaches, because this can become, again, a long-term chronic form of stress that you feel, that you end up getting that you can get burned out on. So the lesson that eustress teaches is that sometimes the pain of living without our dreams fulfilled is no different from the pain of living with our wishes granted. This has been summed up, by some philosopher somewhere who says, well, you can't have too much of a good thing. And that's true. But I didn't realize it until I really put all of this into context. When I look back over my own gender transition, so I started transition in July of 2022. Trigger warning for a moment here. I'm going to talk about a difficult time in my life. And so if you don't want to hear about this difficult time, maybe it's good to walk away for a moment. But it began transition in July of 2022. Single estrogen patch, slapped it on, and it felt great. And by March of 2023, I had completed my social transition. I'd finished up the legal stuff. I changed my name. I changed my social security information, all kinds of stuff. By March of 2023. And by August of 2023, I found that things were going so well that I became suicidal. And I know that sounds crazy. If they're going well, why do you feel that way? And I want to say right off the bat, that was not, absolutely not, caused by regret. What I found is that by the time I'd gotten to August of 2023, I had peeled back this layer of gender dysphoria. And by doing that, I uncovered all the childhood trauma that I had not dealt with for 53 years. And I peeled that back and I was able to look at relationships. I was able to look at my employment. I was able to look at so much of my life and feel that distress because I thought, I took care of all the bad parts. This isn't fair. Why do I have to deal with all the other bad parts? It was a good thing. That was eustress. I had completed a social transition. I looked more or less like this by the time March of 2023 had rolled around. My hair was different, but for the most part, everything was good. So I had experienced eustress. It was not regret. It was a sense of eustress. So now I've completed medical transition in July of 2024. That's what I just came back from. At this point, I'm supposedly finished. I mean, there's nothing else to do. I have no more tasks on my list to do. But the moment that really brought that home, and really when I realized what it all meant, the trigger warning's over, but here's another one. I was reading a book, lying on my bed, and I went to go pee. Okay, so I went to the bathroom and I came back and I sat down and I picked up my book and I put it back down. I looked at my wife and I said, it's so amazing All I did was just go to the bathroom, drop my panties, pee, pull my panties up, come back in here. And she looks at me with a look that says, yeah, that's what you do. You do that. But until July of 2024, it was not how it was done. Despite all the work that I had accomplished before 2024, go and pee was like this. I would put down my book. I can walk into the bathroom. I would hike up my skirt, and I'd see the bulge in my panties from those parts. And I'd think to myself, you again. So I could pull down my panties, but it wasn't just pulling down my panties, because I had to disentangle those parts from the panties from each other. And then I could sit down, but it wasn't just sitting down. You had to pack those parts into the toilet so that you can sit comfortably. And you had to sit back a little bit because the urethra is in a slightly different place. You start peeing, you hear a different sound than what you know other parts make. You don't need a tissue for cleaning up, right? Because you can just shake that. Then you stand back up and you pull up your panties. And it's not just pulling up your panties. You have to pack that right back into place so that you get one final last, yeah, you again, before dropping my skirt and then walking back into the bedroom to pick up that book. And that is a significant amount of pain, of stress. What I have lost in getting gender-affirming surgery is this constant energy suck. And it's not just all the long-term chronic stress of going pee, because you do this, 6 times a day, 8 times a day, who even knows? But it's not just the long-term chronic stress of going pee. It's the shame that's associated with seeing those parts and having the pee experience, and then all the rumination that's involved in thinking about the parts and thinking about the shame and thinking about the experience and how you're not supposed to feel these things. You're not supposed to feel the shame or the pain, and so you feel guilt. And all of that has gone away. What I've done is reclaimed a tremendous amount of the energy that I have devoted elsewhere. And what I feel is not regret. What I feel is eustress. I'm feeling this tremendous energy. And it's energy that's now been released to do other things. And so what I've come to is the idea that I've got to figure out what to do with this energy. A couple of weeks ago, I published an article in which I said, I've completed all of this, and now I can just live. And what struck me as I was standing in that shower, that cold shower, after laughing and thinking about this sense of empowerment, I thought to myself, what does it mean? Just live. What does it mean to a person who is only now beginning to learn how to live? And I guess what hurt for a small moment was that I realized gender-affirming care isn't going to solve that problem. I'm going to solve that problem, just like any cisgender woman has had to solve this problem, although maybe I started slightly later in life. And so this, now having taken the circuitous route to get to this point, I can say gender-affirming care has 100% been amazing for me. I would not trade, despite starting off with 52 years of pain, despite going through last August and driving away twice, feeling suicidal, despite this sense now of, oh crap, what do I do? I would not take back one single second of the past 2 years, because it's now given me this ability to see a life. But gender-affirming care does not, will not, cannot solve all of life's problems. What gender-affirming care does is free us up enough from the long-term chronic stress of gender dysphoria to begin to solve our life's problems on our own. And that was the whole bit that I wanted to talk about today, and I hope that's given some insight into gender dysphoria, the process of transition, and probably most of all, the level of expectations you should have as you go into this. So I've got as much as 10 minutes left. If anybody has comments or questions they'd like to ask, this has been a topic that's, I guess, sort of stuck with me since I started feeling great after beginning gender affirming care, 2 years ago. It was about 2 weeks after I put that first patch on that I realized how great this was going to be. And it's taken now 2 years for me to get here and realize, yes, it is great. And it's also terrible because I was able to forget that I had to learn how to live life so long as I had this thick layer of gender affirming care. And now I don't. And it's wonderful. And at the same time, okay, I got to go figure it out. So I'm seeing a couple of expressions of gratitude, Lana, Rosebud's wife. There's no doubt I don't have a choice, really, but to talk about what I feel. I like to make this content because I want people to see, first of all, how obvious this is. I mean, it's not that I'm weird. It's not that I feel these things because I'm weird. Well, I mean, not solely because I'm weird, but I feel these things because I'm like a normal human. And every human has this pain that we have to process. Now that I've processed the big pain, I can process the smaller pain. But my gosh, this is really, if I had not started gender affirming care, I wouldn't know any of this. And this is why gender affirming care will always save lives. There's no doubt it has saved mine. Isende, I hope I'm saying that right. Isende, maybe. Thank you so much. My bangs turned out particularly nice today. I wasn't sure why that is, but thank you for saying I look marvelous. I feel like I'm actually transported right back to the 1980s when they started talking about stress, and now I hear Fernando on Saturday Night Live saying, "Darling, you look marvelous." Absolutely. So I'm with you there, Lana. I think it is the same problem. Oh, wait. I guess I want to make sure I understand. If you have the same problems that you did before you started gender affirming care, yep. I think that's what I want to say. We have the same problems, but there is less stress that those problems cause because we are capable of plowing through them. I mean, that's a huge thing. It's crazy to think, too, because I spent a decade before I started gender affirming care. I was meditating. I started running. Right, I know what I'm doing here. This is easy. And then I was still suicidal. So clearly that meant there was something else that I needed to address. And I think that's a great way to put it. Desende has now said, because you're not fighting yourself. And that's exactly what gender affirming care brings you. The ability not to have to fight against every single fiber of your being, every single understanding that you have in your life. So yes, I kind of wish, I was really hoping there would be somebody who would drop a comment or two that said, yeah, well, that still sounds like regret. I almost wanted a hater to show up so I could go, see? So I could do that meme, right? Where you've got the person who's pointing and then there's the cat going, gender affirming care. But, so I don't know if it's possible for me to express how much more, any more, how important gender affirming care has been, not only in my life, but in many of the lives of people I know. I mean, people who have shown up here today. Lana, I know. Saoirse, I know. And I don't know if either of you would want to make the quick comment that hell yes, but oh no, Lana, don't. Sounds like regrets. It does. You know what I regret? The only thing that I regret is not believing myself earlier. And I used to say that as I regret not starting earlier. But it wasn't that I didn't start. I mean, starting is a big thing. But I wish I'd believed sooner that I could do this and that it would be a good thing. I wish that I had believed that, even if I hadn't started earlier, even if it took me until 52 years old before I said, okay, I can do this. It's possible. I'm glad that, and I'm glad that I got there, but I wish that I had believed myself sooner so that I could have at least learned to care for myself a little bit better to get to this point. So I'm going to take a cup of tea from my extremely sweet, there's my power of 3 mug. Just charmed. There you go. Available on Amazon Prime. That's not me promoting Amazon, but all right. All right. So I'm glad I see. Oh, what can you? Oh gosh, this is going to be tough. What can I say to my 28-year-old daughter to help her through gender discrimination when someone misgenders her? I've got, honestly, I have like 3 words. It gets better. And I know that sounds like such a cop-out. I don't know what anybody is seeing like right now. Ramen tacos. I don't know what anybody is seeing right now as I'm talking. My when I go out into public, honestly, since about March of 2023, I have been misgendered precisely once. And it was actually on the way to Thailand. I had a TSA guy. I'm standing there with a passport that says F on it. And the TSA guy goes, all right, thank you, sir. And I'm like, hmm? In any event, it takes time and it takes dedication and it takes a huge amount of confidence to get to the point where you end up exuding enough that people believe you. And I don't want to say, Rosebud's wife, that your daughter is not believable, that she doesn't pass. I will say what I believe the hugest part of gender transition is being able to go out and saying, yep, I'm totally a woman. Because for some reason that works. That is a huge, huge part of it. So, hi, Genevieve. Okay, I understand. You think she does, but the world does not. Yeah, it's you know what I'd love to do? And I'm surprised I'm offering this, but if she would ever like to talk to me, I would love just to have a conversation on some of the aspects of femininity that I believe are very subtle, but very telling. And again, I don't mean to say that she doesn't have those. I mean to say that there have been times that I've acted in a certain way that I've had somebody, oh, okay, yes, please. But ways that I've acted with somebody and they've gone, that was really masculine. And I went, wait, what? Why? What did I do? And then, somebody pointed it out. I have a friend of mine named Julia who is extremely supportive and extremely straightforward. If you're watching, Julia, hi. Yeah, I'm talking about you. And she will give feedback that, there have been times I went, I really didn't want that feedback. But it's super important. There are social cues that seem like they would be completely stupid and yet actually mean a tremendous amount. So yes, please feel free to reach out to me, send me a DM or whatever. But I would love to do that if your daughter would want to. If she ends up going, look, no, I understand it's a tough, this whole thing is very, very difficult, just to navigate. So, all right. I'm looking at 1:29. I've been on for a little more than 30 minutes. I am going to say thank you so much to everybody who joined. This has probably been the most successful live stream I've done. I'm looking at 173 people who showed up on TikTok and 7 people who are there now on YouTube or maybe Twitch. I don't know. But I cannot express my gratitude anymore. It is because of all of this that I continue to do what I do, including continue to try to make myself better, because that's about all that all of us that's about all that any of us can do is try to make our lives just a little bit better than they were yesterday. So thank you to all of you. My love to all of you. I think if I start talking too much more, I'm going to start to cry. So thank you again. Bye. Pillow turquoise hot chocolate. Bye, everybody.